Hey everybody, we're excited today to share another therapist success story. I have the amazing Josie here who came in to share her story. Thanks for being here today.
You're welcome.
Do you want to introduce your name, where you're located, what your specialty is, and then your website address?
Okay, so my name is Josie Bowling and I am in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I practice teen and family counseling is my specialty. And my website is www.josiebowling.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And why did you initially decide to go into private practice?
Oh my gosh, that was so long ago. Let's see. How did I decide to do that? I think I just really liked the work. I think that was I just love working with people. And I had worked in treatment centers with teenagers. And it was really clear that it was very unsustainable for me. And in terms of I always said I gave my blood to that work. It was full transfusion. And I think I was doing that in grad school and part of my consultation hours. And I could just see that no matter how much I loved this, that it was not going to align with the other goals of my life, like people that were in the positions of either directors or lifetime counselors or whatever at least in the model that I was working in, it seemed pretty unsustainable. It was clear to me these people were on call, they weren't with their families, and it also felt kind of bubble-like too. So anyway, I think the other part is that I loved working with kids, and I felt really deeply that while this was effective for kids in crisis, I really questioned whether I couldn't position myself in the public where I could be treatment before it ever got to that point. And that was a really big inspiration to me, because I didn't really like the way that kind of the abrupt rupture of attachment that it seemed like a lot of these kids experienced from being taken from their families. And granted, some of them absolutely warranted that. But I always was curious, what were all of the steps before we got to this? And could I, with what I know, prevent this? Because that was not ideal for anybody. Really, it was needed, and it's an important service. But I just was feeling
prevention, or even to have them have more skills, even if that was the dynamic of what needed to happen for them to change at some point. What if there had been more support along the way, so that kid came in or the family came in with different skills and a different foundation? Anything we can do to build that foundation is going to help with future treatment or shifts and such too.
Totally. And there's this thing within treatment programs where it's really hard to create continuity because kids are because they are brought away from their town. Then the continuity of care, once they return home, you see a lot of attrition because there's not really a good establishment of a relationship with a family therapist to kind of help the gains and help the whole system really make the shifts in the environment. So that's what got me pretty psyched. Those two things, my own life sustainability
and the work.
Yeah.
Do you want to share when and why you decided to enroll in Bootcamp? Because you've been in practice for a long time. Yeah. When and why?
Okay, so I decided to enroll in Bootcamp last year. And part of it was I had, the lead up to it was that I had left my full-time practice in California, and my husband and I had moved to Salt Lake when I was pregnant. So I totally naive move. Anybody wants to talk to me about that? I'll give you someone that's a whole nother story. But I think what I did, and then I had twins. So
just a little time. I hear they're a little time consuming.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of time to build a business. And so I did some online stuff. And then when it was time that I started to see I have space and time and I can start building my business back, I started trying to just use the skills that I had. But what I really lacked was the same amount of time to network, because I had 2 kids and a house to run and things like that. And there was no way that I was going to rebuild relationships that I had in the community before, where I had gone to grad school, I had mentors, I had done trainings, I had done workshops, I knew people in all different, such a deep web of community that was feeding my practice. Yeah. And so I didn't have that. And so it was really clear to me that I needed more skills to really promote my business. And with this new kind of like
life parameter
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had tried to do it on my own, and I kept like cresting. I was like 8 to 10 clients a week. I was like, this is not really paying the bills. So how long is this going to happen? And I just watched it. It kind of never moved. And so I just thought, I need something different.
And what does your practice look like today, a year later?
So totally full and a wait list. And it's amazing.
Yeah. Versus like watching it. Like,
I mean, I could not move the dial. I was not moving it. It was not happening. And it didn't matter like how many lunches I went, or like, I don't know. So it's hard for me. There were really some fundamental things that I did. And I think it's kind of like it's like a few strands of things that kind of came together for me. But yeah, I do 15 to 20 clients a week, and 20 is like the outside, like that's not what I really want to be doing. Yeah. And so it's great.
But that's a huge difference, right? When we talk about like base expenses, right? Sometimes you hear therapists, they're like, can we save 0.25% on our credit card processing? But they're half full, like 8 clients versus 16 clients a week. Mm-hmm. That 0.25%, like maybe it matters, but like maybe the issue is just that like your marketing needs to be on track. So, right. Or on track. What were the biggest takeaways that you got from Bootcamp in particular that you feel like were part of getting your practice to where it needed to be?
So, I think one of the biggest things was getting the push to revamp my website. That was huge. I think that has made such a big difference. And also, it was funny. So that, and then I think also this revisiting this piece around specializing, because it's so funny because I had done that years before, where it was so clear to me that what I do with teen and families is something that a lot of therapists don't do. And my other specialties, I love working with trauma recovery, particularly sexual assault with young women. But that is like, that field is so saturated here. And so as soon as I got the courage through this work, through working with you again, like, okay, right, I really need to just have a name and get known in that way. It's too diluted to do both. I think I was doing that like, oh, maybe I can do trauma and teens, and, holding this thing. And really what's happened is that I went totally to my website, again, just completely teens. And I still have a trauma-informed page that people find when they Google that. But having that updated website and having that, I think that clarity of like what I do has made all the difference in the world. I think that has really, as soon as that came on, I saw an increase in my clients.
Yeah. And I feel like I remember when we first talked, because I think Uriah had referred you over, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because Uriah and I had thought about you guys when we first started. We were like, well, maybe we should do this. And we were both like, it's so, I don't know, it's a big commitment. And eventually we didn't. But then, yeah, you guys.
You came back around.
You were right at the top of my mind.
Yeah. And when we were chatting about the website in particular, there was like but this is the website that built my practice before in California. Yes. And so there was this like very much of like, I don't want to break anything. I don't want to like undo, like this is what made me successful. So I don't want to shift it. So that place that you got to of being able to kind of like go, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.